Hey, this is Andrew, and I am going to bring you some more Keyforge deck review videos. So, I had gotten a display a little while ago and sold away 4 of the decks at the cost to me, which is a pretty good deal, to a friend. So he just didn't want to get a whole box, so passed 4 of those on to him. I've done 3 of them here, traded one to my daughter for a sealed Coda deck. And then these are the last 4. And what happened is my kids said, hey, Daddy, could we do a family sealed tournament? So we did. So we just opened them and played with the 4 of us, and it was super fun. And I'm going to go through these in last to first order. So I'll do them each as a separate video. It won't be all one long video. But I'll put them up one after the other. So if you watch this one and you want to see the rest, then you can keep following along. And anyway, we just did two games. It was bedtime after that. We ran out of time. But anyway, we did 2 games, and so basically the first one I'll be showing is the one that lost twice. Then I'll show you the one that lost and then won. Then I'll show you the one that won and then lost. And then lastly I'll show you the undefeated one. So that's that. And I'm actually super excited because I actually think all these decks are good. And that's just a problem I have in general. Almost any deck I look at I just think is great. And if you watch these videos, I know you see some where I'm like, that's terrible. But really my first gut level reaction when I look at a card list is just to be like, oh, this is amazing, and think of all the possibilities. I also did make I almost said mistake, but it's not really a mistake. Anyway, I looked up the like numbers on these things, and I will mention those too at the end of each video. It's kind of interesting because they're definitely not necessarily what you think. So alright, with that said, this is the man that exhorts the eagle, which is just fantastic. My youngest daughter opened this and said, Daddy, this is like the America deck. It's the America deck, the man that exhorts the eagle. So it's Untamed, Sanctum, and Brobnar. First we have Drummernaut. That's kind of a weird first card to pop up because usually it's farther down the stack. But anyway, it has some interesting possibilities here. It's a 6 power giant that after it's played, fights, or reaps, you return a friendly giant creature to your hand. We have First Blood, which is alpha. It gives us a bonus amber and deals 2 damage for each friendly Brobnar creature, and you can divide that damage however you want. Gauntlet of Command. It's an artifact that can exhaust to ready and fight with a friendly creature. That's pretty good. Groggins is an 8 power giant that can only fight flank creatures, can only attack flank creatures. Lollop the Titanic is an 11 power giant. It's also a location, and it doesn't deal any damage when it's attacked. Of course, it does deal damage when it is attacking. Burn the Stockpile is an amazing amber control card. It says if your opponent has 7 amber or more, they lose 4 amber. That's really fantastic. Then we have Flamethrower, which is an artifact that can exhaust to deal 1 damage to a creature with 1 splash. That's okay. Flamewake Shaman is a 4 power human that when played does 2 damage to a creature. Would be nice if it was a giant because of the Drummernaut. Little Rapskull is a 2 power goblin with elusive that says creatures must fight when used if able. Then we have Ogopogo, which is a 6 power giant. It says after Ogopogo attacks and destroys a creature, you can deal 2 damage to a creature. We have Might Makes Right, which is an action that gains us a bonus amber and says you can sacrifice any number of creatures with a total power of 25 or more if you do forge a key at no cost. We have great creatures in Brobnar to support this. Like Lollop plus Groggins is 19 already. Add in an Ogopogo or a Drummernaut and you're at 25. So that's pretty solid. Like, that should be firing if it's drawn in this deck. And then lastly, in Brobnar, we have Pile of Skulls, which is an artifact that says each time an enemy creature is destroyed during your turn, a friendly creature captures 1 amber. Notice so far not a lot of printed bonus amber, just 2 of those, but there's decent amber control between Pile of Skulls and Burn the Stockpile. So and the Might Makes Right. So we'd hope that we could get an amber edge even in Brobnar. In Sanctum, we have Lion Boutram. That's really great with Might Makes Right as well, because it gives its neighbors +2 power. It's a 4 power human knight with 1 armor and deploy, and it gives its neighbors +2 power. Avalon the Armor Smith is a human, 3 power, and it gives other friendly creatures +1 armor, and it can exhaust to give them another +1 armor for the rest of the turn. It's really good with Merrick, who is a 5 power Spirit Knight with 1 armor, and after Merrick the Mark prevents damage with its armor, you capture 1 amber for each damage just prevented. And you know, if you have this and these 2 cards both out, you could potentially capture 3 amber onto the Merrick by having it fight into something. Sir Marrows, we actually have 3 of these in here, which is pretty interesting. It makes Reaping not nice for the opponent. It's a 4 power human knight with 2 armor, and after your opponent gains amber by Reaping, Sir Marrows captures it. That's very strong. The Grey Rider, we actually have 2 of those in here. It's a 2 power human monk with deploy, and after it's played, fights, or reaps, you can ready and fight with a neighboring creature. This is really great with the Merrick. It's really great with the Brobnar stuff. It's pretty amazing. Again, notice not a lot of just straight up bonus amber printed. My suspicion here is that my daughter was doing a lot of, well, actually I think all these decks ended up pretty good, so something had to beat something, you know, but I suspect that she was maybe not fully utilizing her board state. Based on just what I'm seeing, I feel like she should have been owning the board. Doorstep to Heaven, more great amber control. It's an action with bonus amber, and it says each player with 6 or more is reduced to 5. And there's more stuff that you'll see, but this is really good. Slows the opponent down really nicely, and gives us a chance to catch up. Free Markets is an action that gains 1 amber to a maximum of 6 for each house represented among cards in play, except for Sanctum. As of now, there are 7 released houses, but you know, once Worlds Collide comes out, there will officially be 9 houses. And so if you have a card like Experimental Therapy, it says that the creature is part of every house, and you know, you can imagine this means that Free Markets would gain more than 6 if that were part of the equation. So so having it capped at 6 makes sense. Anyway, this seemed to consistently do, I think the least I saw it do was like 3 amber, which is great. That's as good as Virtuous Works, which is a good card. And I saw it do 4, or I think in one case even 5, which is very good. Hadroth's Wall is a location. It's an artifact that gives each friendly flank creature +2 power. That's also really good with the Might Makes Right. I mean, they pair together very well. Sanctum Guardian, another big creature, 6 power Spirit Knight with 1 armor. It has Taunt. After it fights or reaps, you swap it with another friendly creature in your battle line. Yeah, so just, I mean, more big stuff here. There's a little bit of Taunt, only 1 Taunt in here though. So that's a little bit of a bummer for Sanctum, but it's a movable Taunt. That's pretty cool. And again, just like big creatures, the Grey Riders should really help us with board control. Solid stuff. Alright, and in Untamed we have Full Moon. You play it for the remainder of the turn, gain an amber each time you play a creature. We have Glimmer. It has Alpha. It's a 1 power fairy, and when you play it, you return a card from your discard pile to your hand. Just think, that could be the Might Makes Right. That could be the Doorstep to Heaven. That could be a Grey Rider. It could be the Full Moon. All sorts of things. There's lots of good options for that so far, and more to come. For example, Key Charge, which says lose an amber. If you do, you can forge a key at current cost. So we have 2 key cheat cards in here, which is pretty good. We need we need better raw amber generation, as we've seen, and I think that's where the key charge struggled a little bit. Marmo Swarm is a 2-power beast that gets +1 power for each amber in your pool. Persistence Hunting is an action with a bonus amber, and you choose a house and you exhaust each enemy creature of that house. We have 2 of those. That's really good soft board control, temporary board control. We have a Rustnar, 4-power beast insect, and after it fights you destroy an artifact. If that artifact has an amber bonus, you gain that much amber. And again, with Hadroth's Wall and or Lion Bautrum, this could be 6 or 8 power, which is pretty good. We have 2 of those in here. That's also good artifact control. Potentially amber generation. Song of Spring gives us a bonus amber and shuffles any number of friendly untamed creatures from your hand, discard pile, or battle line back into your deck. It's a really good way to cycle, for example, the Glimmer. The other stuff I probably just want to keep out, unless if it's in the discard pile, maybe I put it back. It depends on the situation. Tantadlin also just really good with the Might Makes Right. With Hadroth's Wall, this is as big as Lollop. It's a 9-power tree, and it only deals 2 damage when fighting, but after it fights, you discard a random card from your opponent's archives, which is really good. Then we have Heart of the Forest, which is an artifact with a bonus amber. It says each player cannot forge keys while they have more forged keys than their opponent. We'll come back to that in 1 second. The last card here is Punctuated Equilibrium, which is incredibly exciting. It's and this is actually my first deck with either of these cards, and it's cool to get them together. And I'm really glad to get Heart of the Forest with 2 key cheats. So Punctuated Equilibrium says each player discards their hand, then refills their hand as if it were the end of their turn. So, what do we have here? Well, in both games, again, you'll see this deck kind of struggles on the raw printed amber side. So, now, I'll tell you, this deck on Decks of Keyforge has 80 SAS, which is pretty good. That's 3.5 stars, and 46 Arc. An Arc is a little more objective. Not perfectly objective, but a little more objective. The SAS is a little more subjective. Anyway, so it struggles a little bit on the raw amber generation, and that's probably its liability. That's where the Heart of the Forest comes in, and in both games I saw my daughter ended up in a situation where she had to use Heart of the Forest to try to come from behind. And the ideal situation would have been to generate enough amber that she could forge at the beginning of her next turn, and then follow up with either enough amber generation to push into being able to key charge, or being able to Might Makes Right. Punctuated Equilibrium can help with that, because maybe you end up in a situation where you have a couple untamed cards in your hand that generate amber plus this, and then you get a whole new hand, and maybe you get the key charge in there. So anyway, yeah, there are some options here. The Full Moon could be quite a bit of amber generation. There's a good number of creatures here. And my feeling is that you should be able to have board control with this deck to the point that you can probably generate amber that way. Again, you also have some pretty decent control in the form of Doorstep and Burn the Stockpile and Pile of Skulls. But in the end, it just wasn't able to quite work it out. And in both games, actually, in one of the games, my older daughter was able to use, what was it? She did something that, she played a Titan mechanic to drop the amber cost, or the key cost to 5, and force the person playing this deck to forge before they wanted to. And the other game involved using an unlocked gateway to just wipe the board, give back a bunch of captured amber, and if there had been a key charge in hand, it might have been it might not have worked out, but in the end it worked out, and so that's why this deck lost both times. But I think it has a bit more potential to it. So yeah, I'm excited to try this out. myself, with the Punctuated Equilibrium, the Heart of the Forest, it just is an interesting deck, has interesting stuff going on. Mine makes right too. It's interesting stuff. And I am excited to try it out. So there you go. That is the man that exhorts the eagle. In the next video, I will show you the deck that got third place, which is Logos Sanctum Dees. Thanks, I hope you enjoyed this and that you will forge some keys with me.